Considering home security? Consider this. For 140 years, ADT has helped stop more crime than any other home security company. The yard sign isn't just a sign, it's a line in the sand. It's no wonder 5 times more people choose ADT to protect their homes. Visit ADT.com to learn more. For license information and terms and conditions, visit ADT.com.
That was very funny. We are Mike and Mike, were presented by Progressive Insurance. Our guests on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Sign will include Robert Stanberry Olney III. He'll join us live momentarily from L.A., where last night it was the Clayton Kershaw show, and Justin Turner helping along the way. Turner has been ridiculous in this postseason, and the Dodgers have a 1-0 lead in the World Series after a night where I'm getting more and more, as we're talking about this, more and more fans who seem to be frustrated with the way the game was, I'm going to use the word officiated last night, the way it was umped last night, with the belief that Kershaw was getting calls that Keuchel wasn't getting.
Yeah, Phil Cuzzy, the home plate umpire, favors the home pitcher. So, we'll ask Buster some of that. Clayton Kershaw got strike calls on 40% of his pitches. 47% of his pitches he threw in the lower third of the zone, the highest rate in a postseason start in his career. Keuchel only received that strike call 26% of the time. So that is being brought up as to, he pitched so well because the ump was kind of, favoring him in that instance.
And listen, I mean, this was a game where Kershaw made one mistake and Keuchel made 2.
Right.
So you can look at it one of 2 ways. You can say, look, I mean, he still pitched a very good game, or you can look at it in a game as tight as this was, where the other guy's pitching as well as he is. One mistake is all it takes.
Right.
One additional mistake, and that is all it took. The other little sidebar here as we await Buster that I thought was interesting last night is the amount of attention that the play button in the middle of the screen was getting for the YouTube ad.
For YouTube ad,
was that a work of genius?
Well, listen, we've seen all the time the advertisements behind home plate there, whatever, new show coming up, whatever, sponsors coming up, rolling through there. That one, there are so many tweets about how distracting that was, that it was just that button, that play button that you look at, you saw every pitch, you saw that thing. I thought the same thing. I thought it was a little distracting.
They brilliantly positioned it.
Yeah, they did.
So that it was directly in the center of the screen. This was obviously no accident.
No.
They measured the shot from center field, and so that it is exactly in the center. So it looked the entire game like you wanted to walk up and push play.
Yes, you did. Yep.
You wanted to hit play on the television the entire night, and I think that's genius. I think that was a work of absolute genius.
It's there for a reason, right? It's an advertisement, so you want it to be seen, and it was seen.
May I just, as an aside, I like that pronunciation. Advertisement. As opposed to an advertisement.
Oh, okay.
The guys in my ear are screaming, no, they don't like it. I kind of like it.
I like advertisement.
I think it's a fancified version of
either
advertisement.
Way, used contextually correct.
But I don't think either is incorrect. I don't think advertisement is incorrect. I think it's less frequently used than advertisement.
We've gone through this a lot with different words. The latest when they showed one of the throwbacks, finance and finance.
Finance. I in the same way that I believe finance is a perfectly acceptable pronunciation of that word, I believe advertisement is an equally appropriate word or pronunciation for that word.
But the way you use finance was wrong.
Forgetting that.
I know.
To go back to the previous point, though, is here's why I think it was genius. Mm-hmm. 2 things. One, it made it look like the product.
Absolutely.
It actually, the entire game looked like you were watching it or you were waiting to watch it on YouTube.
I agree.
The other thing is there are some products that if they advertise it to you in a way that is going to aggravate you, you might go a different direction.
Right.
Just making this up.
It may turn you off.
Coke and Pepsi, right? They're close enough together to each other potentially that someone might say, "Man, that advertisement is bothering me so much. I'm going to go do the other one."
Right.
No one is boycotting YouTube.
No, they're not.
You can't stop watching YouTube. The whole world now is YouTube.
Completely agree.
So, no, it's not like anyone, even the people who are aggravated by it, aren't going to say, well, that's it. I'm not watching my vlogs
Never watching
anymore.
YouTube again.
Not going to happen. You don't have any concern about that.
Which almost makes you wonder why they're even advertising anyway, because everybody watches YouTube anyway.
I guess. But I thought it was brilliant, to be honest
with you. But it was there, and I mean, you noticed that one more than some of the other advertisements there. So, but it was well placed, and I completely agree with you.
Are you not comfortable now just going ads? I mean, on second reference, can you just say ads? I mean,
I can.
You're obviously now you're pushing the advertisements. I feel like
So you think I'm using it
now
too much?
I think. Well, I mean, I think that you're. Let me ask you a question. No, I don't want. And I don't want to get into this. We're talking about the World Series. These guys are trying to force me to ask you other
works,
questions.
you use it.
I feel like it is. Is that a slightly highfalutin pronunciation of that word?
It can be. Yes. Yes.
Yeah, and that's a. Here's the difficulty that I'm having. I'm having people in my ear arguing with you through me now.
I enjoyed that particular advertisement. Is everybody happy now?
Well, let's just go with ad, and then everyone will be happy with that. Okay. And then let's talk about Justin Turner. Justin Turner is having the kind of postseason that you dream about. And when I say that, I don't even know that that's doing it justice. I'm going to give you the list now of the 3 highest OPSs in Major League Baseball postseason history. Number 1, Lou Gehrig. Number 2, Babe Ruth. Number 3, Justin Turner and his beard. That is an incredible, what a ridiculous list to put yourself on. Now, I understand before the tweets start flying in that the meaning of postseason today is different than the meaning of postseason when Gehrig and Ruth played. But that almost furthers the point. Yes, he's had more opportunities, but so have a lot of other people in recent years. That is a bordering on ridiculous statistic.
It is.
That Turner is putting up. And here's a guy who is having himself one of those postseasons. We see it every year. Someone comes up out of nowhere, and all of a sudden they're unconscious. And this year it's Turner.
Yeah, it is. And quite honestly, Chris Taylor has been playing well as well. And I keep going back to him to give him some love. The first time he steps into a batter's box in a World Series, he takes the first pitch of the game for when they're at bat, their first pitch in the bottom of the first, and goes yard with it. To me, it was just stunning. Absolutely stunning. Like, he went up there with the intent. He gives me anything to hit. I am taking it. And he did.
Here's how locked in a guy like Justin Turner is right now. In this postseason, he has 13 swings and misses and 13 hits. He has as many hits as he has swings and misses. And with that thought in mind, let's bring Buster Olney into the conversation. So many different things to get to with you this morning, Buster, and we so appreciate you getting up bright and early out there after what we have no doubt was a schwitzy night for you in the heat in Los Angeles, and we'll get to that. But we're in the middle of talking about Justin Turner, so pick up the thought right there. We mentioned the OPS. He's behind only Gehrig and Ruth now in history. He has as many hits as swings and misses in this year's postseason. What can we say about the playoffs that Justin Turner is putting together?
Well, when you talk to evaluators about this World Series coming in, they brought up the Dodgers' absolute domination of the strike zone among their hitters. And Justin Turner is first and foremost in that, where they feel like that he constantly controls the zone. It's difficult to get the ball past him. And if it's out of the zone, he'll just take it. And that, has been a trademark for this team. Going into that game last night, guys, in this postseason, the Dodgers hitters have 44 walks, their opponent 12. That's an incredible difference. And last night I thought that Justin's at-bats were classic for the type of adjustments that he'll make during the course of a game, where early on, Dallas Keuchel actually made him look bad the first couple of at-bats, throwing cut fastballs inside. So what does Justin Turner do? He goes back to the dugout. He gets a different bat, one that's a little bit lighter, because he wants to get to that inside pitch. And Keuchel, the pitch that Keuchel threw that he hit a home run off was actually not a bad pitch. It was a cut fastball. It was in and it was up, but Justin Turner got to it. Joey Votto is someone in baseball who's respected for his knowledge of hitting. Justin Turner would be right up there with him in terms of making adjustments against opposing pitchers.
Gotta love the hair flow in the beard as well. That just adds to the lore right now. Very, very cool. Let's go to the pitching. And before we talk about the dominance of Kershaw, let's talk about Phil Cuzzi, the home plate umpire. Was he given preferential treatment? Is wrong. Was he given the home pitcher a little more love than the visiting pitcher in this game?
Look, there were a couple of calls early that raised my eyebrows in terms of a strike on a certain hitter. I think George Springer had one early where you're like, boy, that was a little bit down. But being there at the game, I didn't feel like it was egregious in one way or another. And I've seen games during this offseason where I felt like the home plate umpire is really consistent, but I didn't think it was that bad last night.
So then let's go to the pitching. Both pitchers actually pitched pretty well. 2 mistakes by Keuchel, 1 by Clayton Kershaw. Let's go to Clayton Kershaw. We've been waiting for him to be dominant in the postseason and lead this team to a World Series. I'd say you can check that first box.
Well, and that's great for his legacy. He's not quite at this stage in his career. I think we might have talked about this yesterday, where it feels like that he's kind of like John Elway at the end of his career with the Broncos, where it's like he's got to get the Super Bowl to make it right. And Clayton, as you say, checked that box last night. I was really curious with the hot temperatures here if he would have some adjustment to his pregame regimen. But I was told, Clayton always comes out if it's a 5 o'clock type start. He'll always come out of the dugout at 4:22. Nothing will change with him because he just will not relent to anything. And sure enough, last night, 4:22, he comes out of the dugout. Crowd gives him a big cheer. And guys, he had a jacket on in 103-degree temperatures. Goes out, goes through his warm-up process, and right from the get-go, you could tell he had great command of all of his pitches. And that's, tough enough for a hitter. But in that lineup for Houston last night, only one guy in their lineup had more than 3 plate appearances in his career against Clayton, and that was Jose Altuve. Everybody else had 3 or less. And that's a problem because when you talk to hitters about facing Kershaw, they talk about the deceptiveness of his delivery, that slight pause at the top of his delivery like a flamingo, and how it takes a while to get used to that. He was dominant.
Mike and Buster Olney painting the word picture for us of Clayton Kershaw's performance last night. I agree. This has been a lot about his legacy, and he has stepped up in a big way. Then there's Justin Verlander, and you told a great story with us last week or whenever it was about how he at one point was crying because he felt like he just didn't have it anymore, and now he has rebounded to where he's been one of the great deadline acquisitions in the history of the sport this year, and they need him to go out and be that tonight. What do you expect from Verlander tonight in Game 2?
That he'll pitch great. Before Verlander pitched Game 6 of the American League Championship Series, Joe Girardi, the Yankees manager, was just raving about him. He said, look, this guy's a fighter. Like, he loves this type of stuff. And you can tell it being around Justin. I mean, he's completely energized by this. And so I'm sure that the fact that A.J. Hinch mentioned, the Astros manager mentioned the term must win, I'm sure Justin's probably aware of that going into Game 2, and I'm sure he absolutely loves it. And he saw Clayton Kershaw, who's a future Hall of Famer, go out and pitch this great game. Justin can't wait to go out and try to match him because he's the most competitive person in baseball. He's throwing great. I'm really curious, like with Kershaw, to see if he makes some adjustment for the heat. It's supposed to be 97, 98 degrees at the outset. And a big question for me is, we talked about Justin Turner and the Dodgers and the ability to control the strike zone. Will they have more success than the Yankees did in terms of fouling off pitches, not swinging pitches out of the zone, running at Verlander's pitch count?
Buster, you're doing a great job of painting a picture for us, so we'd like you to paint this picture as well. It was 103 degrees. We're wondering, was there sweat going down your back, maybe down the pants as well? I mean, how sweaty were you?
Just a second. Security's talking. I'm doing. Okay.
This is great.
Okay. Thanks. Sorry. There's just not many people talking out loud at 5 o'clock in the morning out here.
Where are you, Buster? Where are you?
I'm in the lobby of the hotel because I don't want to wake up other guests.
Okay. Oh, very good. And so security was giving you a hard time about speaking loudly on the radio?
They wondering if I was a crazy person.
Okay.
So yesterday, to answer your question, Golick, was the first time I ever heard this particular question. Someone in the elevator said, "Is back sweat 1 or 2 words?" Okay. I mean, it was so hot. We have this, at ESPN, of course, you do Sports Center and you have the coat and tie. Yesterday, it's like the privates in the Army took over. No, we're not doing the coat and tie. We're wearing whatever we feel like wearing because it's so hot. And they actually imported a bunch of polo shirts in for the folks who were doing Sports Center and different shows like that. I brought a polo shirt, and I was just going to say, no, I'm sorry. I'm not going to stand there and just melt in a coat and tie.
Yeah, well, Timmy Kirchin said that it made him sweat and that he doesn't sweat much because he only weighs 148 pounds. And Golick had a couple of funny thoughts on that. So what is the anticipation? It's going to be just as hot tonight, right?
Not quite as hot. It's supposed to be 97, 98 degrees. First pitch, as I'm sure you guys mentioned yesterday, 103 degrees at 5:11. The only thing that made it, I think, somewhat reasonable for the players was that the sun was quickly off the field. It had advanced out beyond center field, and that was okay. It's not going to be quite as hot, but it's going to be really hot.
And all kidding aside, because we've enjoyed kidding about this a little bit this morning, but does it actually impact a baseball game that much? I mean, the ball carries, and maybe that one ball we were talking about it with Eduardo Perez earlier this morning, maybe the temperature actually impacts the ball that might otherwise have been a fly ball to left field that goes into the seats. But as far as fatigue and all that kind of stuff, the starting pitchers, do you think it actually has an impact on the game?
I think in a long inning it could. If a pitcher, like last night, Kershaw and Keuchel were rolling out 10, 12, 14, 15-pitch innings. When you guys saw the time of game, which was remarkable,
yeah.
And that got them through that. If you have an inning in which Verlander, you've seen the Dodgers foul off a lot of pitches. He's throwing 30, 35, 40 pitches. I think it could be a factor there. So many of the players have talked about, hey, once you're out there, the adrenaline is so extraordinary. And that crowd last night, guys, the Dodger crowd staying until the last pitch. Justin Turner said after the game was the best Dodger crowd that he's ever seen. I suspect that helps as well in terms of keeping the players in it.
Buster, off the World Series, we've seen some of the managerial changes around the league already. Still waiting on what's going to happen in New York with both Girardi and Cashman. Any news on either one of those?
Well, I know from talking with sources within the Yankees organization, full expectation that Brian Cashman will get another contract and will continue as the general manager. But there's absolute radio silence from the Yankee organization about Joe Girardi's situation. We talked last month about Girardi, and it felt like that his tenure with the Yankees may be reaching the expiration point. I still think that's the case. I know that there have been conversations, the Yankees, brass and Girardi, and I'm sitting here wondering, does this mean that when there's a break in the World Series, because the Yankees are well aware of the rule from MLB that they don't want big news broken during the course of the World Series, if during the off day on Thursday we're going to hear that Joe Girardi's tenure as Yankees manager is over, we'll just have to wait and see. His contract, of course, is also expiring, and it might be that the Yankees just want to move on.
Really interesting. All right, Buster, listen, we so appreciate you getting up early in the morning and going down to the lobby so you don't bother other people and suffering the slings and arrows of the security that obviously thinks you're a lunatic. So we appreciate that very much. Enjoy the game tonight and stay cool.
Thanks, Bus.
Yeah, guys, if they haul me away, come and get me, okay?
Gotcha.
We'll send reinforcements. That's Buster Olney with us, Mike and Mike. And a reminder, the road to the World Series goes right through ESPN Radio. Catch all the postseason action presented by AutoZone on ESPN Radio, ESPNRadio.com, and the ESPN app. I asked that question with a little bit of seriousness. I mean, you made me laugh a little earlier with your Tim McKirkson thing. But in a football, I mean, basketball's on, hockey are obviously played indoors.
Right.
Which parenthetically brings me back to my idea that I want basketball moved to the Winter Olympics, but that's a whole other discussion for another time.
Why don't you do that in your new show?
I will. That's our first day. We're going to lead our first day with that. I'm going to do 20 minutes on how basketball should be in the Winter Olympics. But all kidding aside, now you made me forget my point. Oh, no.
Heat. Playing in Heat.
Yeah. Like I was watching in the NFL this weekend, like in Miami. That was pretty significant heat. What's the hottest football game you ever played in?
Oh, my God. Well, I'm sure it was in the 90s, possibly even over 100. It's not so much because it definitely is different because I played in heat in Arizona and I played in heat in I played in Houston. I played, now that was, we were in the Astrodome
right?
there.
Yeah.
But I played in Miami my last year, when they made the training facility right there, so you practiced in Fort Lauderdale. We practiced and you played.
Was that outside?
It was outside.
Practice, not a bubble or anything?
No, not a bubble. It was outside. And we practiced like at 7:30 in the morning early, and then 2 days we'd practice later on in the evening. They didn't have an indoor facility. It was a brand new, and there was no indoor facility. Yes, I mean, it's definitely different. I mean, you have to really worry about hydrating well before that. I don't mean an hour before the game. I mean, days leading up to it. And during the game, man, I mean, the ice towels, anything to refresh on the wrists, on the neck, on those areas to try and refresh you. It is definitely tough. Just like the cold, a lot of it is how much you put on. The cold can affect how it can affect the specialist positions if they're putting on a lot of gear and can't move as well, not even to bring in how the condition of the field or anything like that. But heat is horrid. I'd play in cold most guys would play in cold any day of the week, except maybe for wide receivers, and depending on how cold it is. You'd rather play in the colder weather than heat. It can just melt you. It just zaps you. Because remember, as a defender, you're just used to running all the time, pursuit all the time, because the last thing you want to do is get caught on tape jogging to a play. So you're constantly running it, and it will definitely have its effect in that humid weather.
Yeah, and you've got all the pads on and everything else. And I was with the baseball play. The one place that I could see it impacting a guy would be the pitchers. And he mentioned this the time of the game last night, by the way. And who had the bigger smile last night than anybody is Rob Manfred with a 2-hour and 28-minute game in the World Series last night. I'll be very interested to see what the ratings are. We'll get those soon, the initial rating for last night's game, and I'll be very curious to see what that is. And I would think that the sort of snappy pace of it, and I've got a bunch of tweets here, people saying, and I've been saying this forever, that the bigger strike zone, call a strike, and that moves the game along. One of the reasons the game moves along last night.
Tell that to the batters.
Is it a strike?
Who are, balls going below their knees at their ankles, it's getting called a strike.
So swing at it. I mean, at the end of the day, so swing. Well, below their knees shouldn't be a strike.
Well, and that's the point. Last night it was. So I mean, yeah.
But to me, I feel like one of the things that we've seen in baseball since my childhood is the strike zone has definitely shrunk.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And I think that the larger the strike zone is in general. I'm not saying stuff down at the ankles.
I'm with you, but there's the other side of it of a batter working a pitcher, making him throw more pitches as well.
That takes a long time.
No, I know.
That takes a very long time.
You want it to move faster, but there's strategy in a game that says, hey, the more pitches this guy throws, the sooner we can get him out, so you want to be more patient.
Understood, which is once again why I don't look to the players to make any changes. Right. I look to the rules because players will adjust. Right. Call a strike. I loved it last night.
Hey everyone, Mike Golick here. Support for the Mike and Mike podcast comes from our friends at Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Chances are you're confident when it comes to your work, your hobbies, your life. Rocket Mortgage gives you that same level of confidence when it comes to buying a home or refinancing your existing home loan. Rocket Mortgage is simple, allowing you to fully understand all the details and be confident you're getting the right mortgage for you. To get started, go to rocketmortgage.com/Mikes. Equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states, NMLS, consumeraccess.org number 3030.
I just saved hundreds of dollars by switching to Geico. I'm so happy, I feel like I can fly.
Disclaimer, you will not be able to fly by switching to Geico. This is against the laws of physics and nature. If you find yourself flying, please seek professional and or medical help immediately. In the unlikely event you find yourself flying, you might be a superhero, or a pigeon, or a superhero named Pidgewoman, who was bitten by a radioactive pigeon. If you are indeed Pidgewoman, Geico retains all licensing publishing rights in the event Pidgewoman the movie becomes a top-grossing Hollywood blockbuster.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
The Spurs, who are remarkable. No Kawhi Leonard, no problem. They still haven't lost. They go to Miami tonight, and that's followed by the Wizards and the Lakers. And let's talk about that in a moment. Our Sports Center is brought to you by Goodyear.
What does it take to be blimp-worthy in college football? Goodyear knows it's a hard work, determination, and grit they've seen from the blimp for more than 60 years. That's blimp-worthy. Goodyear, the official sponsor of the college football playoff.
All right, I have a Lonzo Ball-related over-under coming up here, so I'll save it for that. So why don't we do that here?
Real quickly, did you see that with Kawhi Leonard out? Did you see the record that Greg Popovich has without a player?
I saw it in the notes this morning,
It's incredible. He has over a 600 winning percentage, better than when Tim Duncan was out. Kawhi Leonard 617, Tony Parker out 654, Manu Ginobili 667, David Robinson 778. I mean, he wins even without his stars on the court. It's amazing.
It is amazing. He's the best coach. I mean, that there's a remarkable number.
It really is.
And my pick of Kawhi Leonard to be the league MVP, we're a week and a half into this.
He'll have to get on the court to do it.
He's going to have to get on the court to do it, but I think I've already changed my mind. I think I've already changed my mind about who I think is going to win.
Who's going to win it?
I think Antetokounmpo is going to win.
The Greek freak?
Yes, I think he's going to put up numbers like we've never seen ever.
Well, we said that last year. Russell Westbrook put up numbers we've never seen ever.
But so did Antetokounmpo, the Greek freak, and I think I've just said that twice quickly and got it right both times.
I think you did as well.
He led a team in every statistical category which even Westbrook didn't do last year. Westbrook put up a triple-double for a season, which we hadn't seen since the Big O. But Antetokounmpo led his own team in every statistical category. And I think he's going to do that again, and I think they're going to win more games than they lose. They're going to win more games than they won a year ago. They're not a great team, but they're a good team. The whole world is talking about him, paying attention to him. He's the guy. He's built like if Kevin Garnett had Chris Paul's skills, he would have been Giannis. It's not Giannis. It's a Giannis Antetokounmpo. Yeah. And that I think he's going to be the MVP.
He's incredible. Listen, he really is 6'11", 222, leads in every category last year, leads in only doesn't lead in blocks this year, leads in everything else this year for the team as well. But, that's the one thing we'll wait and see now. Is what can that team do? What can that team build around a guy like that who is just skyrocketing up as far as great players in this league? So we'll talk about the individual, but when will we be able to talk about the team?
By the way, Buster just sent us an email, which makes me think two things. One, how great is he? He gets up at 5 o'clock in the morning in the middle of covering the World Series and goes down to the lobby so he will not disturb other people trying to sleep in his hotel in Los Angeles so he can come on our show and do some baseball analysis, which I very much appreciate, and I know you do too. And then he's sending us further information.
Yes, he is.
About tonight's home plate umpire, because we were talking about Phil Cuzzy last night. So tonight's home plate umpire, Paul Nauert, this is the scouting report, is a very hitter-friendly umpire. He is especially hitter-friendly to left-handed batters and modestly hitter-friendly to right-handed
What's he got against right-handed batters?
Well, I mean, again...
It's a joke. Yeah.
Is anyone else kind of rubbed the wrong way by that?
Yes.
Is there anyone else that feels like the game should be the game, the strike zone should be the strike zone, and every single night the hitter and the pitcher should not have to spend the first inning or two figuring out what a strike is going to be today? Like that has rubbed me the wrong way for a very long time. Whatever a strike is, it should be. Either way, one figures if it worked to Kershaw's advantage last night, now it will work to the disadvantage. And one would think if the Dodgers are only counting on getting 4 innings out of Rich Hill and the Astros are hoping against hope that they get 8 innings out of Justin Verlander tonight, one would think this is an advantage for the Dodgers.
Yeah, of all the referee and official in other sports calls they have to make, the strike zone is one of the most defined, right? It's supposed to be one of the most, because you can get there in the NFL, pass interference, offensive pass interference, holding.
Calls.
The
strike zone is not a judgment.
Strike zone is not supposed to be a judgment call. It's supposed to be well defined, but this is what you're scouting umpires. But you do it in the other sports, you scout the officials and the referees on how they make calls. But within a strike zone, it is supposed to be more defined.
So the scouting report on tonight's umpire, I believe, is an advantage to the Dodgers. Let's see how that turns out this evening. Let's do over-unders now with Mike and Mike, which are brought to you by Cabbage, who created a simple way for businesses to get flexible access to up to $100,000. That's Cabbage with a K. Goldick, our first over-under is 5,000. Which is 5,000 passing yards for Tom Brady this season.
I'm going to go under. I don't think he'll get there. I think he's on pace to just get over 5,000 yards now. And they switch things up, I think, too many times. Sometimes it's running, sometimes it's passing. To where I think he'll be over 4,500, but I do not think he'll be over 5,000.
There have only been 9 5,000-yard passing seasons in history. Drew Brees has 5 of them. I think he's got a chance this year, and part of the reason is I think they have legitimate competition in the division, which means I think he'll still be working it the last game of the season. The last game could be the decider. Right. Mm-hmm. I'm guessing. They play the Jets the last week of the season. That may very well be a game that the Patriots need to win, which it hasn't been for a while. So I think the Patriots are going to have to play into December this year. I think Brady's got a real shot to go over. So just for fun, I'll go over.
Okay.
Next over-under is 72. Sacks by the Jaguars this season, and we're currently on pace for 75. The NFL record is 72, set by the 84 Bears, not the 85 Bears.
Right.
The 84 Bears. So will Saxonville go over-under on 72?
Wow. That's a good question. I'm going to say no, because I think other teams, as they go on, I think they're a better team, but I think other teams will have leads on them and not have to throw the ball maybe as much to be sacked. They'll be able to run the ball a little more. But they are playing well. A lot still hinges, obviously, on Blake Bortles and what they need him to do. But, boy, you love the way the defense is going. But I'll go under.
Calais Campbell has 10 sacks himself
incredible.
At this stage of the season.
House.
The next over-under is the number 10, and that is the number of points for Lonzo Ball tonight against John Wall. Remember, in that first game, he scored only 3 on a night where they decided they were going to shut him down. They were going to do everything they could to shut him down. And now we have a little bit of that dynamic here going on with Washington, where Lonzo's dad, LeVar, said, oh, there's no way Lonzo's losing to the Wizards this week. And Marcin Gortat got upset about this, and he tweeted, John Wall is going to torture him for 48 minutes.
Shut him down. And he's Lonzo averaging 13 points. His games are 3, 29, and 8. So 2 times he hasn't been in double digits, 1 time well into it with 29 points.
So over-under on 10.
I'm going to go under. I think he'll have, he's averaging, 9 rebounds, 7 or 8 assists. I think he'll do well there, but I think the point total will be down. John Wall, listen, it's become a focal point to hold him down. And John Wall has done well against rookies he's played against, usually doubling their score and their assists. So I'll say from a point perspective here, I'll go under the 10 points.
Look, this thing with LeVar, it's remarkable that it is going into the season to the degree that it is, and I want to set aside a few minutes to talk about that shortly. But I like these over-unders, so let's do these. Over-under is 1.5 teams that finish the NFL season winless. The Browns are 0-7, the Niners are 0-7. Either, neither, both.
I say 1 does, so I'll go under.
Winless. You think we will? One of them will not win a game. It's only happened once in history.
I can't do it. I can't think that's going to happen.
It's only happened once in a 16-game schedule. I shouldn't say once in
only
history.
Once in no. I'm going to say no. Under. None. I'm going to say none. I'm going to say they sneak out a win.
This is Cleveland's schedule. They have Minnesota this week, then at Detroit, home Jacksonville, at Cincinnati, at the Chargers, home Green Bay, home Baltimore, at Chicago, at Pittsburgh. Could the Steelers not need that game? Is it possible that game will be meaningless to the Steelers?
Well, listen, Baltimore's not playing great either.
They win games. Their defense is good. Well, their offense is terrible.
Chicago defense is playing better. We'll see where Mitch is.
Everyone is better than them.
Everyone is better than them. I agree.
And they don't play each other.
I agree. Right.
I think the 49ers will win a game. I think the Browns may not. I'm going to go under.
Now we're going to go
under and 1 and 1.
Should find out today who the starting quarterback will be
for the Browns. And then we'll find out next Wednesday again. Every single week you find out who their starting quarterback is going to be. Yeah. Finally, 1.5 is the over-under on teams from the AFC East to make it to the playoffs. It's been a surprisingly good division this year. The Patriots are 5-2. The Bills are 4-2. The Dolphins are 4-2. The Jets are 3-4, which is better than we thought, and they've had opportunities to win other games. So how many teams make it to the playoffs? Over under 1.5.
We kept talking about the AFC West having 3, and you have the second place there, Broncos at 3-3, and then the Chargers and the Raiders with a losing record at 3-4. So just for fun, I'll go over. I said, let's get 2 teams out of the AFC.
I think there's a good chance. I do. Yeah. I don't know which one. I think it'll either be Buffalo or Miami, and I'm not sure which one.
I think if I had to choose, it'd be Buffalo.
I want to see Matt Moore play tomorrow night. They play Baltimore tomorrow night. I want to see if he keeps this going.
Yeah.
If they get a little more offense, I think that they are a team. They have a lot of good players on that offense. All right, do you want my take on LeVar Ball or my take on the strike zone? I got both for you. I'm ready. I'm ready for both. Either one. Give me which one.
Let's go. I've heard 18 years of the strike zone, so let's go LeVar since it's new.
So I'll say this about LeVar Ball, and this would apply in any circumstance. Mm-hmm. Okay, I am not interested in anyone else's opinions on how I parent my kids. I'm very comfortable in the way Stacey and I have chosen to raise our kids, and I'm not interested in anyone else's opinions. And as a consequence of that, I don't offer people opinions on how they should raise theirs.
How they should raise their kids? Absolutely not.
And I certainly do acknowledge, and I see a ton of this, that he's obviously a very involved father and all the rest of that, and that's great. All that is great. So this is not as much, my take on it is the following. I can't see how anyone could be looking at this and not thinking this is negatively impacting his son's career. LeVar's continued talking. In college, I don't think it mattered because he's always been the best player everywhere he's been.
Right.
And you would know this even better than I would, that when you're someone who's going to get to that level, he was the second pick in the draft, that when he's in junior high school, when he's in high school, when he's in AAU, and the 1 year that he's in college, he's so much better than practically everyone he's playing against.
So that part of it, his dad wasn't going to help or hurt that.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
That you can say anything you want, and there's nothing anyone can do about it. He could have been talking that smack, and my kid could have been playing against him in AAU.
Right.
And this is nothing my kid's going to do with
That's
Lonzo Ball,
You wouldn't
no matter
say,
what.
Steven, go stop him.
Exactly.
Yeah,
But that's not what's going on anymore.
No.
He's out there on the court now with guys who are just as good as him, and many of them are better. And all of them are getting aggravated by this. And it is inarguably, in my opinion, unless you want to convince me I'm wrong, and I'm open to listening to it, it is working against him. So I just don't understand how a person who I understand he is trying to build a brand and all of that, and I get that.
Yeah.
But I do also believe he loves his kids, and he's obviously very involved. How he cannot see that, how he cannot recognize this is hurting my son's chance of becoming a great player, which is important for two reasons. First and foremost, because you want to see your kids excel in every way they can.
Right.
And second, because the best thing that could ever happen to the big baller brand is if Lonzo becomes a perennial all-star.
Right.
So I don't understand how he's not seeing that when I feel like everyone else can see it, and thus toning it down. That's the part of it that I find really hard to imagine.
I think the part that can be aggravating, because this is a team sport, he's not a golfer or a tennis player, right? Mm-hmm. Is not so much, I do think it doesn't do your kid any good, and I saw one tweet that said, oh, he's motivating his son to be a better player by doing this. Okay, I mean, listen, if you want to have that opinion, that's fine. It's your opinion. I disagree with it. I think a lot of it is just an unbelievable marketing ploy for Big Baller brand that he's using his son for, and it's making players put a target on him. Now, were players going to play hard against him anyway? Yes, they were. But listen, you get a little extra incentive. It never hurts you when you run. So, okay, this dude, because of this guy, I'm taking it out on this dude right here. And we'll see what John Wall can do and others as well. The part that aggravates me is, you play those opponents X amount of times a year. You play 82 games with your teammates. Now, listen, I'm not there all the time. I don't know if LeVar has a relationship with I don't know how much he's hanging around there. I don't know how much the other players see him or he talks to them. But all his talk, and I think it is because of the brand, and it's fine. You can market your company. I think he's horrible at marketing it, because I don't know how successful it is or is going to be. A lot may be dictated by how well Lonzo does in the league. But here's my thought, is every single time he's on camera, and there are microphones stuck in his face. Now, he's the one who said he's going to be quiet after Lonzo got drafted, and he's not. So he's not doing that. So if you want to blame the media for sticking a microphone in his face, you can do that as well, but he doesn't have to talk. He chooses to. Everything is either Lonzo or LeVar. It's never the team. It's not, his last video isn't Washington better be ready because the Lakers aren't going to lose again this week. It's Lonzo is not going to lose again this week. So if you're a teammate now, that's more important to me. Now you're a teammate. Is there some sideways? Do you say, listen, I get it, your dad. Okay, we're not. But does it get aggravating? Does it start to get grinding that LeVar is just about his kid, which is fine, but no team aspect here? But I'll say again, I'm not there. Does he do more and talk about the team? I don't know that. I'm going by the videos I'm watching because I see them. And it's always him, Big Baller Brand, Lonzo. And that's it. Nothing about the team. And that's what struck me in that video most is Lonzo doesn't lose again this week. Not the Lakers, Lonzo or me or Big Baller Brand. So that's the stuff I think can grate on the team, the part that you're supposed to be the most cohesive with. You hope that doesn't have any effects there.
We'll get Will Kane in our studio next. I'm looking forward to hearing his thoughts on that. Michael Wilbon went off on it. We'll hear from him as well as we roll on with another hour of Mike and Mike in just a moment.